Alright, good morning from Parker, Arizona, near the border with California. I spent the night here, a little bit south of Route 66, through Lake Havasu City, which was rather a nice place. But the reason I came here was because this morning, and it is quite early still, before it gets properly hot. It's still pretty hot. It's the desert, you know. I want to go to Swansea, Arizona, which might sound familiar to Brits, being a place in Wales. It's an abandoned mining town, and it's about 30 miles from anywhere. Just there's nothing around at all. And this place came about because it was exporting metals to Swansea in Wales, hence its name. And the thing with ghost towns in America, everything's a tourist hotspot, right? Any kind of ghost town on 66 is gonna have loads of tourist attractions, gonna have a gift shop, everything has a gift shop, and they're not really ghost towns, they're tourist attractions. This is an actual ghost town, there's nobody there. I'm not sure if any tourists will be there when I get there, but let's find out. So this is the real deal. Look, this is 30 miles into the desert on dirt to get there. There is a road, but it's not like people drive down it every day. And nothing around, so I won't have a phone signal. Well, I might have a phone signal, I don't know. 30 miles from the nearest tower. Not sure, we'll find out. But I am keen to see what's there, you know? There's not a lot of chance to do this in Britain. There's not very many ruined towns that just remain there. And due to the way the desert works, you know, it's arid, hot, nothing, you know, stuff decays, stuff rusts, but, you know, it doesn't get washed away by the rain or anything like that, so it should all still be there. But this will be the furthest I've been from civilization, probably ever. Let's see how we get on.
I sold my soul, you know I'm not coming home. Whoa, 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 whoa. I gave my life away, my heart and my soul. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I gave my life away, my heart away. This is more than life, see it in my eyes. I gave my life away and I'm not coming home. Whoa, now is not my time. You will realize I'll get my kicks and you ain't getting none. Whoa, 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 whoa. I gave my life away, my heart away. There ain't no future, the present is gray. The road you're facing is rich with dismay. There ain't no turning back, you're bound to the chase. Forever searching for the end of this maze. Whoa, 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 whoa. I gave my life away, my heart and my soul. Whoa, 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 whoa. I gave my life away, my heart away. This is more than life, see it in my eyes. I gave my life away and I'm not coming home. Whoa, now is not my time. You will realize I'll get my kicks and you ain't getting none. Whoa, 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 whoa. I gave my life away, my heart away. Sold my soul to the devil of dreams. Swim in the river or sink and scream. All my people gonna sing and say we're gonna make it to a brighter day. Sold my soul to the devil of dreams. Swim in the river, sink and scream. All my people gonna sing and say we're gonna make it to a brighter day. I gave my life away, my heart away. Whoa, I gave my life away, my heart away.
Alright, here I am. made it to Swansea, Arizona. There's not a lot here anymore, but these are the worker cottages of a town that was once 500 people. But it literally is in the middle of nowhere. Like, this was a mining town, and there's no water around here. You know, they had to bring it in from miles away. There's just barren desert. Have a listen to that. Do you hear that? Neither do I. There's no one here. It's just me, the car, and a proper ghost town. Now, this was about 13 miles of tarmac pavement, and then another 17 of just dirt. Took about an hour to get here. The road, I mean, it's pretty dry, but it's rough. It is rough. The car held up well, but if you're going to make the trip down here, you really want a truck. It'll make your life a lot easier. I mean, there are stretches which are, you know, smooth dirt road, which are great. But then there's, especially the sort of mountainous area, is just, that's really slow going. You know, as long as you take it easy, it should be absolutely fine. And let me tell you, it's hot. As a Brit, I'm used to hot days being maybe 25 Celsius. That's what, about 75 Fahrenheit. I mean, it's closer to 90 out here, which is well over 30 Celsius. So I brought this, and plenty more. You never know, if you get a puncture, you get a flat tire out here, that's game over. You'll be waiting a while. There's no one coming past. I drove 30 miles here without seeing another vehicle. Not even one. It just makes me think, you know, of all these people came out here, you know, in the early part of the 20th century, maybe a little bit before. And they found the ore here, and they started mining it. This was their life, you know. And even the nearest town, Parker, where I stayed last night, that's 30 miles from here. And I've just done it in a modern car, you know. These people would have been doing that with horses and carts. And if I were to walk back, which I'm not going to do, unless I have to, if I were to walk back to Parker right now, that's 10 hours optimistically, just to get to the nearest town, you know. We don't have anything like this in Britain. Anything close. And there's an amazing sense of isolation out here. I don't think I've been this far from anything. Ever. Possibly. So the area you can see behind me was the original, well, it wasn't the original, it was built in the 20s or late 1910s, the smelter. I don't know a lot, but I don't know a lot about mining, but copper was the main, well, the only trade here, I guess. and there's very little left. You know, it's probably less than 100 years, and this town has just, even in this arid climate, it's been swept away. Just the foundations remaining. I mean, you can still see on the ground in places the ground itself has been discoloured by this process that was producing all of this copper. Just up behind me there, you can see there's the remains of a shaft, and the shaft has thankfully been sealed over. I'm quite glad. I don't really want to fall in something like that. There's no getting out. Definitely not. But as with the way with so many of these places, the Great Depression came along in the 20s and lasted into the 30s, and not all of the places survived, this place included. It was only a town of 500 at its peak, the way I understand it, and you know, in the middle of nowhere with no one else for miles around. You can understand. It's just staggering to me to come to a place like this and just see there used to be people here, you know. Now there's nothing. There's a few old buildings, and you'd never know this was here. People would want to live like this. It's so hot here. I suppose people go where the work is, and if there's work in the copper, in the mining, then they come to a place like this. So I'm standing in the remains of the manager's house here in Swansea, and it was a fairly large house for, you know, the limited means they had to construct all the way out here. And I had to have really thick walls because it's going to be hot. They didn't have air conditioning or anything in those days. We're talking 1900s, 10s, 20s, into the 30s, when the town finally met its fate and was eventually abandoned. But reading some of the information about this place, what strikes me is that, you know, up until the 1960s, the town was abandoned but pretty much intact. So you could walk around and you could see these old buildings, and you could see the smelter, you could see all of these different relics, really. And then the vandalism began, you know. I don't understand why anyone would come out here and destroy these kind of things, you know. They apparently they just shot them. There's just a hail of gunfire which weakened the walls and eventually caused their collapse. I don't understand what motivates people to do that. This is part of America's history, and more than that, this is what America is to me, you know. Forget about all the gift shops, all of the museums, all of that kind of stuff, and just look at this. So some of its former glory's been lost, but for me, seeing America means seeing places like this, seeing the ruins of towns that once had hundreds of people in, and finding out how these people must have lived and what they were doing out here in the first place. Rich copper deposits, was the main reason, but you know, what kind of a life would these people have had? What would their day-to-day have been like? Was it mainly men? Or was it families that came here? So much of this information's been lost. I'm going to enjoy what's still here. I'm no mining expert, as I said, but this appears to be just a whole load of, I guess, what would you call it, slag? Like, you know, the waste product from mining. It's definitely a different colour to everything else around. And it's just like a little corridor here through all this stuff. Over to what's behind me just here, which is possibly one of the better surviving buildings out here. I need to watch my step here. I mean, there's still broken bits of metal, nails, cans, just everything that would have been here going on for 80 years ago. It's all just discarded wherever it was. And the amazing thing for me is that, you know, a town of 500 people in the middle of nowhere had access to fresh water. They built a channel to bring the water in. They had electricity, you know. They had everything they needed for a fairly modern life. I mean, it's April right now and it's too hot for me, so I dread to think what it must be like in the later season. I'm just making my way over now to, I think, what must have been a smelter. And if you're like me, you've ever played anything, you know, like a game like Fallout, post-apocalyptic desert sort of environment, this is, I mean, minus the super mutants and all that kind of stuff, this is pretty much, this is it, you know. Just the very fact that these people could manage to live and survive out here. There's still plenty of life around right now. I mean, there's birds, plenty of insects, and there's lizards all around. That's like the biggest bug I've ever seen. Wow, I'll stay away from that. But just the very fact that they could have a living out here is incredible. And I am super excited to be here. Even though not all of it survives, you definitely get an impression of what it must have been like. So that is Swansea. I hope you don't mind, but I've got back in the car, put the air conditioning on. I spent about an hour looking around. It's not a massive site, but there's plenty to see here. And the temperature's outside. It's now 11:30, and yeah, it's too hot. Too hot for me. I mean, if you're going to come here, there's a lot of things to watch out for. It's not the easiest place to find. I did a lot of preparation, knew exactly where I was going, took plenty of water with me just in case. I took I mean, I'm going on my own, so if you got someone to go with, obviously it's going to be easier, safer, and people know where I am is the important thing. This is 17 miles of dirt road just to get here. There's no other option. You have to drive that way. And you know, if you've got a high clearance vehicle, 4-wheel drive, a truck, it's going to be a lot easier. Did it in a Camaro, it's not easy. It's going to be slow going, and you really got to take it easy on some parts of this dirt road. But for me, it's one of the most exciting places I've been in America, just because there aren't tourists everywhere. There aren't any tourists. I mean, there have been some, I'm sure people come here, but the chances of running into one out of the holiday season at this sort of time, it's just deserted. And it really does give you an impression of the isolation that's possible. You could never be this isolated. Maybe in the Scottish Highlands, but in the UK you just can't get away from people, you know? You might go into the woods on your own, be a few miles from somebody, but this is full on 30 miles from the last human being that I've seen. And that sense of isolation is one of the reasons why I came here, you know, to see what that feels like and to see how I might react to that.